Welcome to Couples Becoming Intentional. I'm Carrie.
I am John.
And here at Couples Becoming Intentional, we want to equip you with different tools and resources so that you can live intentional lives with those that you love to leave a legacy that lasts.
Welcome, everybody, to Couples Becoming Intentional. Today, we're going to talk about one of our roots that we said in the first episode. We're talking about how can we live an unhurried life, living in margin, not butter. I was joking about saying life in margin, and now that's how it came out.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah. So Carrie, where did we get this idea of an unhurried life, living in margin?
Yes. So for us, I think it really started off with you reading the book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. So John can share a little bit more about his experience with that, and I will share a little bit about my experience. So though that book, To Hell with the Hustle by Jefferson Bethke, When Less is More by Emily Lay, like all of these books started coming out towards the end of 2019. Little did we know that a global pandemic would be coming, where we really did have to rearrange everything that we thought and live our life with margin, essentially.
Yeah, living at home and working from home and all that fun stuff. Although, we weren't really impacted. I think the only thing for us that really got canceled was church. So, no youth group and no Sunday.
Yeah.
But, I was still going to work every day. And so, because a lot of things got canceled, I went to work and that was it.
Right.
Came home and then we'd play with the kids.
Yes. We all of a sudden had all of this margin and we didn't know what to do with it. So let's backpedal before these books, or some of these ideas or concepts, because they really all came out towards the end of 2019. And a lot of them, when you were reading them right in the beginning, you're like, I have margin. I don't understand. My life is going great. I'm fine. Well, because at that time for me personally, I was pregnant with Penny. So Penny was going to be born in March of 2020 and home with Finn and really doing well in my network marketing business. However, it came at a price. And I really felt this whole hustle mentality really coming out of my network marketing. And I don't want to say anything bad or bashing about network marketing. This is how I personally handled it, just me and my personality. There's nothing wrong with having online businesses. John and I both have an online business. So together. Yes. We're not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying how I reacted towards it was in an unhealthy way. So I remember pushing and trying and striving really hard to hit the next goal. And in corporate America, I know they have this, especially in network marketing too. There's always the next thing. Right.
And when you're in your own boss, you're not clocking in and clocking out. So you're not okay, I'm going to work hard for these 40 hours. No, it's oh, I have spare moment. Let me just work on this. Oh, I can reach out to this person or I can reach out to that person. And that's I feel like that's where we with our business together, I feel like that's where we're getting to, where we're oh, I have a spare 5 minutes, I have a spare 10 minutes, and I know I'm going to fast forwarding to 2022. But that's it is so easy to get caught up in the hustle to how do we make more money? How do we just work? And we're not really enjoying it anymore. It's because it's just we took on maybe one too many clients, or we tried to reach too many people, and then we realized my lifestyle doesn't allow for me to have all of this, because it is a spare time job, and if all my spare time is being used for the job, it's not worth it anymore.
And that's really where we saw me personally in that season of life of things were more important to me. The most important things to me were my faith and my family were being sacrificed on the altar of what could my life look like if all these goals and all these dreams and if this income happened that I was striving for. And it all got stripped away. And I'm really thankful for that. And because of like this and the pandemic and just all these different things, like this realization and all these different things happened so that I can learn what it means to truly like this. It's somewhere in the Bible. This has been a reoccurring thought. And even this morning during my quiet time, it's just like to cease striving, or like to be still and cease striving. And like, that's been a constant reminder for me, because I am tempted to just kind of hit into this whole hustle mentality and culture. So, I think like, and those 3 books specifically, and just different podcasts around the topic were really kind of like a wake up call for me, about the life that I'd been living. So for you, John, like, how did you come to this, like, basically like a come to Jesus moment of what it meant to like really live life with margin?
I think for me, like back then, 2019, for me, I always live in the margin. Like, I pride myself in what I don't do. Like, I know that's not typical of a guy. Guys like usually like to like achieve, to do things. For me, it's just like, how can I just not do anything? And so that's why like we adopted another route of like playfulness, to always like to try to make it's not just of let me just live in margin and not do anything with my margin, but no, let's like create an atmosphere where like things are fun and intentional. Like, that's the biggest thing, right? Is like, we can live in margin, but how are you using your margin? Like, scrolling on TikTok and watching Netflix is not a great intentional time, like use of your margin. And so like, how about we make it fun with our kids? So how can we make these? So right now, like, I'm home with Penny, because Finn's got off to 4K Carrie works. And so I'm like, how can I have fun with my 2-year-old? And it looks different every day. It's a shorter time, like especially today, because we woke up at around 9:00. It's only like an hour after breakfast to do anything. But so yeah, it's like, it's not just like, how can I start cutting things, but it's also that. Like, I think that is the big thing, is that like the biggest thing is that it's okay to say no. And I feel like people, well, I know people like hate saying no because they feel like they're letting the other person down. But when you start saying yes to everything, like, you're cutting into like your resources. So you're like in your time, your energy, your money, because like, that's just the reality of when you start saying yes to everything, is that like you are required to use those things.
That's so true, because, and I think that's like the beautiful tie with this, is that typically we live our life without margin because we are saying yes to everything. And we feel like everything is such this big to do and such a big commitment. Is what are they going to think of me if I say no to serving? Are they going to think of me less of a Christian if I say, no, I can't serve on the welcome team? Like, no, that's between you and Jesus. And I love this because anytime you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So like, even when we go on couples trips, we're saying yes to investing in us, and we're saying no to a time that could have been spent as a family on this trip. But recognizing, okay, if I say yes to this, what would be no? And then here's my other filter. John knows my other filter of when I say yes. And I hope that this is beneficial to you. If something is like a heck yes, like
where did you learn this?
I don't remember where I actually got this from. So if I got it from you, let me know. If something is a heck yes, I think this was Patrice Washington.
I think so.
She's a podcaster and author and speaker and all the things. So, if something is a heck yes, like you find out about something and you are all in, heck yes, then do it. But if you have any reservation, or if it's not a heck yes, then say no. Say no.
It's okay to say no.
Yes, it absolutely is, because you're saying yes to spending time somewhere else that would be more beneficial for you. And I think that's been one of the key things for us. The other practice that Jefferson Bethke actually did with his family, and this is like where something came up for us, is he took index cards and wrote down every single commitment that him and his family were a part of. And they laid all the index cards out and prayed as a family. And they have young kids, like they're older than our kids, but at this time they're like early elementary school, and prayed over the cards and waited for the Lord to tell them what could stay and what could go. Everything was on the table, which is like, we want to say like throw things that we're unsure about up on that table of like things we're willing to give up, but not necessarily everything.
Like we'll put Netflix and
Yes.
TikTok and
Extracurriculars
like
that
sports,
you've been thinking. Yeah.
And so then, but like we won't put on like our idols essentially. Are the things that like, how can I do without this? Of like, do I need a second car? Do I need that new computer? Do I need those, like, it's like these things that
it's those other things that you're like holding on to tightly that you don't want to ultimately offer up to the Lord, that it could potentially be a no in this season.
Can I drop some wisdom?
Well, always.
Sometimes good is the enemy of best. When you say yes to everything, it could be good things, but that could be getting in the way of the best things in your life that really shape you into being more like Christ, that really form you to being a better person. Because you can say yes to like hanging out with your family, which is a good thing, but like that time could be spent elsewhere. That could be spending serving somewhere or serving at the church. So yeah, just like, I think that's a good realization. I think that like when you start living in margin, you can start saying yes to like better things. And I think also you just have more resources. Like you have more money, you have more time, you have more energy. And then when you have all of those, you can invest those in the things that matter, the things that really matter to you and your family.
What are those priorities that you're actually wanting to make a priority and not just saying it is one?
Right. And so like, if you really want to make God first, like you need to start saying yes to God a lot more than what your family, than to yourself, to others. Granted, yes, we want to love God, but we want to love others. And it's a both and. It's not a either or. So,
and you can't be a loving person if you are hurried, if you're rushed. I mean, one of the best examples of this is, and I'm so guilty of this, is when your kids or like when people in your life are so freaking slow at getting ready for an appointment,
toddlers,
or for the airport, and you're going to miss a flight. Like, I am not my best self if my children or the people I'm with are not listening and moving at a pace that I want them to, which is fast, so I can get to my gate and feel fine. John knows this through and through for me.
Yes.
Like, that is the definition of hurried. When you're, I always notice it for me is like my heart rate starts to accelerate a lot more and I feel more agitated. And I react instead of respond to situations. Right.
And we never want to be in a position where we are reacting to everything. Like, how often do you find yourself Sunday morning? You're like,
oh my gosh, right.
I want to get to church on time. But, you know, your kids are
on their own time frame.
They're like playing with something else. And you're like, you start yelling. You start like, hey, like, and you start, maybe you swear at them and you realize. And then
do you do that?
No, I don't.
Okay, I was going to say.
But like,
just an example.
But like people, like, they're like, I'm pretty sure they're the worst selves before going to church. And then they're like, try to clean up their act while at church.
Yes.
And so like, because you're so hurried, I think John Mark Comer uses that example.
I think he does too. So. You can go back and read or listen. John Mark Comer and Jefferson Bethke did a podcast. I think it was like 5 or 7 episodes. So you can go, we'll link it in the show notes for you guys. I think the reason why we wanted to bring this up too, and was to talk about this being one of our roots, but then to also talk about, okay, how does this actually play out in our life? The good, the bad, and the ugly. So I love how you had brought up that sometimes good is the enemy of best. Like when we say yes to good things, it's maybe robbing us of something that would be best. Can you share about what happened last week when we said yes to something that was good and it was robbing us of what was best?
Yeah. So, on the side, I started picking up other podcasts to edit. Like that's what I do as a side job. I help Carrie out with that because Carrie is also in marketing, and she takes clients long form content and makes
Yeah.
it into short form content.
Nice.
So like for those reels, for the TikToks, for the so whether that's a blog or a podcast, she'll take it and shorten it and take the high points out of those. And so she's realizing like people are coming to her and saying, do you edit podcasts? And she kept saying no. And I'm like, one day I'm like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
And so she started getting a couple clients, and it was like, oh, I'm actually like decent at this. And a client came across her, like came to Carrie, and she's like, we're launching a podcast. It's like it was just a bigger project. So it was just going to be a lot more, like
I won't go into
episodes.
details, but it was going to be a big chunk of recordings on a month and a half deadline.
Right. And it was like 35 episodes.
Correct.
She's releasing them all for a paid like membership.
Yes.
And so she was looking for like great quality, like editing.
Yes.
I'm not
like
there.
studio, professional,
Right.
grade, like all the different things, which is awesome. Like
Right.
we're so excited about this.
So I was working on them. I was like chugging away, like
Yes.
any spare moment during nap time, during after the kids went to bed. I think once I even like the kids were doing a puzzle, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to just quickly do this podcast. And that like that's how it starts getting consuming. Just realizing that like, oh, quality time with my kids is getting taken away because of these clients.
Right.
And so I see that now, you know,
Oh,
after
absolutely.
the fact.
Yes.
But yeah, I was like, this was consuming my life because it was constantly there. Like I knew I need to get this done. I need to get all 35 out by September 15th. And I got the first 15 done, sent them over as best as I could. And she's like, this isn't good. This is not good enough. Sent it to another guy who did editing. And he's like, this sucks, basically. Yes. And she's like, I'm going to have to drop you guys and go move to him. And it was such a blessing.
It was like, let me tell you, that was a very difficult conversation. Those conversations are never easy to have, either me having them with people or like just other people coming to us, and our quality of work or our excellence is a different definition of somebody else's excellence, which is totally okay. We just were not going to be an ideal client for them. Like we are not what she was looking for, which is, you guys in this space, you have to be okay with it.
Yes,
and
so true.
Hindsight, oh my gosh, such a blessing, because what were we able to get back?
Just couple time. Like after the kids go to bed is when Carrie and I like reconnect. Where we are intentional with like our relationship, of our marriage relationship. And usually, sure, that might be like watching a show together or reading a book together, like by each other.
Yes.
Or just like having a deeper conversation with the kid, like because the kids are not around.
Yeah.
And not getting constantly interrupted of mama.
Yes.
Mama. Realization as a stay-at-home dad, this is as an aside, the parent that goes away, like kids constantly want.
That is exactly how it was when you were away.
Yeah.
They always wanted dad, because when mom was making them mad, they just wanted dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you want what you can't have, right?
Yeah. Or the parent that's not always present. Yeah. Not always, you don't always feel loved.
So with that, I think the biggest realization of like something is wrong is, this is very fresh for us. So just hang on tight with us. This was all last week. So just know that John and I are works in progress. We're not here as sitting up high and mighty on our pedestal of like, we are the experts. No, like we've walked through stuff and we've learned things that we just really want to be sharing with other people. So last Wednesday, I remember looking at you and you had said something to me like, I just kind of feel like we're in a roommate season. And I was like, I'm thinking that too. Like, I feel like we're just roommates. Like we're just doing the things. We're coming home. We're just in this like routine of like, we're not really together. We're like in the same house, but we're not connecting and being intentional with our relationship. And the next day was when the client decided to walk away from us, which was huge, because it was this blessing of like, I really felt the Lord was like, who are you loving more? Are you caring about the income that can come with this? Or are you caring about the people who are right in front of you? And that was this realization that we were saying yes to good and not saying yes to best, because it was ultimately, we were putting it on this altar of our marriage, of our time with our kids. And that is not what we want to represent for our kids.
Right. When there's periods of times, like, yes, when I'm in my unhealthy, like, natural state, I don't want to do anything. But there's also periods of time where I start moving more towards, like, the achiever, the person that wants to do, like, achieve things. But there's also an unhealthy, like, area of that. And I felt like during this period, both Carrie and I have this side of us where like we are growing, but we're growing in the wrong way.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So we're like achieving good things, but like we're not taking the time for great things, right? It's like, and so yeah, I felt like very distant from my family, very distant from Carrie because of that, like this whole period of time where we were so focused on other people, so focused on other projects, and the no was forced on us. Yeah.
And that was a blessing. We did not see it. So we just kept on moving, and the Lord closed that door. And that's
the thing about like trying to constantly live without margin, is that you will eventually get to a point where it will be forced upon you.
Through different circumstances, through burnout, through health, you could end up hospitalized for just wearing your body down. Different job opportunities could be shut down because you're just wearing yourself too thin. Like, it's taking a step of like taking care of yourself and recognizing when you might be coming close to that, and then just saying, nope, I'm not about this.
Right. We need to have those built-in filters of like, okay, how can I continue to live in margin without like burning myself out, without having my emotions go awire? Because like, if you can constantly live in a life of hurry, like it will affect you somehow. You might have, like your health problems. You might have, it will show up somehow in your life. Like your kids might start acting out and you're like, what the heck? I thought I had great kids and now they're not listening to me anymore. It's probably because you're not great at giving them the best quality time. And I think that's what like really was like, oh, right. Like Finn and Penny do tend to listen to us. This past couple of weeks, it's just been, I felt like it's always like trying to pull teeth. It's just like, but then I realized I'm like, oh, I'm not giving them my best at all. And so why should I expect the best from them?
Wow. That's parenting. Hold on to that one. So to recap, really what we want to just really encourage you guys with this episode is think about different things in your life that maybe need to go. Maybe different things that are not in this season. I think that was always the thing for me, is like, it may be a yes down the road, but it's just a no in this season. And that is a-okay. And then thinking about maybe some things that you want to start doing, but you've never really had the space to be able to do it. But because you're taking the time to remove stuff, that you now have room to say yes to the best thing. So, any last thoughts? Otherwise we're going to rapid fire.
Nope. Rapid fire it is.
Rapid fire it is. Okay. So it is beginning of September. Rapid fire. What is one thing you're most looking forward to about fall?
Why does pumpkin spice lattes come to mind?
That's so funny. That's my next question.
No, it's not pumpkin spice lattes. I like sweatshirt weather.
Sweatshirt weather? Oh my gosh.
Sweater weather.
So sick of shorts. I'm just ready to wear pants and long sleeves and sweaters and cardigans. And,
I wish we had a fireplace. That would be nice. And then reading books in front of a fireplace, but we don't have that in our current house.
That's okay.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. I'm right there with you. I love caramel apples. Like I'm finding I actually do really enjoy caramel apples, that I'm like, I'm craving one right now. That sounds really good. Okay. Pumpkin spice latte, yes or no?
No.
I'm a no as well.
Apple cider.
Are you going to try that?
Apple cider.
Hot apple cider.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the new caramel apple oat milk latte macchiato that they just came out with at Starbucks? Will you try it?
Probably, because it's probably chock full of sugar and it's probably delicious.
That is true. It probably is chock full of sugar and super delicious. What is your favorite, last one? What is your favorite Halloween movie? Oh, and then I have another one.
I don't really have a favorite Halloween movie, mostly because I didn't really watch Halloween movies growing up.
What a waste.
Oh.
Hocus Pocus.
I know.
All of the Halloween Town movies. The Halloween Town, like, high. Oh, I love them. Okay. And then what was one of your favorite Halloween costumes growing up, or a Halloween costume that you've loved our children wearing?
So also didn't go trick-or-treating growing up.
Okay.
We didn't celebrate Halloween growing up because it's the celebration of death, Carrie. No, but our kids go trick-or-treating. Finn was Batman last year. That was
fantastic.
Cool. Yeah. And then Penny was a puppy.
No, Penny was a flamingo.
Flamingo, that's right.
Yes.
She was a puppy the year before.
I don't think she was. We have a puppy costume.
Was
she was a flamingo both years.
Yeah. Finn was a duck one year.
Yes, Finn was a duck. Penny's probably going to wear a duck or be a cow. Finn has stated multiple times that he wants to be Buzz Lightyear this year. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, he always says that. Like, we were reading PJ Masks.
Oh, yes. And he wants to be Catboy.
Yeah, he wants to be Catboy.
And he wanted all of us to dress up.
Yeah.
You were going to be Romeo.
Yes, I'm the bad guy, apparently.
Yes.
So, yeah, he just wants whatever, like, the new craze is. That's, like, what he really wants the whole family to dress up as.
So should we do a family Halloween costume this year?
No.
Okay. So my favorite Halloween costume was when John and I dressed up.
Oh, yeah.
And we were Rapunzel and Flynn Rider, because I don't know where this Rapunzel dress even came from. We still have it. Maybe we go as that. John's like, no. But I'm the Rapunzel when she cuts her hair off, because I have brown short hair.
So when she becomes the princess again.
When she becomes a princess again and finds her family. And it's such a touching story, and I love it.
And Flynn Rider gets forgiven because, of course, he gets forgiven.
Because it's Disney. It's a Disney movie. Duh. Okay, that's our rapid fire for this week. We hope to see you guys in the next episode.
Yep. See ya.
See ya. Thanks for listening to another episode of Couples Becoming Intentional. As always, if you have a question that you would like us to answer here on the podcast, you can go ahead and send us an email at jcvhouse@gmail.com, or you can send me a DM over on Instagram at Carrie Vaco. We'd love to be able to answer and feature you on here on the podcast. And as always, if there is somebody in your life who would benefit from this episode, feel free to go ahead and send them the link. And if you love this content, we'd love to be able to hear from you. So go ahead and leave us a review over on Apple Podcasts.
Until next time, we love you and we appreciate you.
See you guys.
Bye.